Okay, hello students. This is Javed Shabkhez here from Physiology Department. Today our topic of discussion is going to be ECG, electrocardiogram. And as you see on this slide, after ECG there is a slash and then it's EKG. So it's ECG, that is a British version, and EKG is the American version, sorry, right? So it's the same, electrocardiogram, both are same. Okay, by definition, ECG is the graphical representation obtained through electrodes placed on the skin of electric potentials generated by cardiac impulses during the cardiac cycle. During a cardiac cycle, the electronic events occurring when they are represented graphically, that is ECG, right? Okay, so what's the principle behind it? Of course, we know that there are certain waves, certain segments, certain intervals in ECG, but how are they produced? How these waves are produced? So the principle is that cardiac impulse that travels, you know that the travel of the cardiac impulse by now, that it starts from the SA node and it ends at the very dead end of the ventricular muscle, right? So the cardiac impulse causes electric current to flow between its parts, having different polarities, between the parts of the heart having different polarities, right? So this current, it's not only that it is passing through the parts of different parts of the heart, it also passes through the fluid around the heart to the surrounding tissues. And from there, it goes to the chest wall and other superficial areas of the body. So from here, we record these after amplifying these electric signals on an ECG paper, right? So this is the basic principle of ECG. So the one thing is that it's the electrical representation or graphical representation of the electrical events occurring during a cardiac cycle. The other thing is that the cardiac impulse, it causes electric current to flow between between the different parts of the heart, which have different polarities. If there is no difference in polarity, there would be no flow of current. So it has to be that some part of the heart has to be depolarized and some has to be polarized, right? Otherwise, there would be, if the whole heart is polarized or the whole heart is depolarized, then there would be no flow of current, and then there would be no graphical record, right? So to have this graphical record, we need to have this polarity difference between the different parts of the heart. Now, this is a typical ECG that you can see. It has got a P wave, it has got a QRS complex, which is a combination or collection of three waves. That's the Q wave, R wave, and the S wave, right? And it has got a T wave, and in some ECGs you will find U wave as well. For our practical purpose, we will go with P wave, QRS complex, and T wave, right? These are the waves. Now, going further, there are some intervals. One is this PR interval. The other one is QT interval, right? So two intervals. And then there are two segments. The one is PQ segment, right? And the other one is ST segment. I can show that on a bit. This is a much more classical representation of ECG. But remember that this is a hand-drawn ECG. When you will see an ECG from an actual patient, it might not look very similar to that. You might note some differences in there, but it is a hand-drawn ECG. And let me tell you that this is a hand-drawn ECG, a normal ECG with all its waves, its intervals, its segments. It is one of the most frequent questions in the university, in the UHS, right? So you need to draw a neat and correct diagram of ECG, labeling it correctly, and just elaborating that what is this P wave, what is this Q wave, what is this R wave, what is this S wave, what is this T wave, and what are these segments and what are these intervals, right? So you need to briefly elaborate these as well. This is the most common university question that has been repeated so many times regarding ECG, right? Okay, so once again, this is the P wave, this is the Q wave, this is the R wave, this is the S wave, and this one is the T wave. Now, what do they represent? What do these waves represent? P wave. P wave is a depolarization wave. What it does is that when the cardiac impulse passes through the atria, that cardiac impulse depolarizes the atria, and it occurs just before the atrial contraction. If you remember my words from the cardiac cycle, I told you that the events occurring in cardiac cycle are the mechanical events, and there was a relation between those mechanical events and ECG. And I told you about these waves at that time as well. So these waves, as this P wave is depolarization of the atria, so it occurs just before the atrial contraction, because atrial contraction, as we know, is the last part of diastole in cardiac cycle. And the P wave, which occurs in the ECG, it occurs just before that atrial contraction, right? Now, TA, TA is the atrial repolarization wave. Now, this is a wave which we normally cannot see on an electrocardiogram or an ECG. Why? Because it has got its occurrence coincident with QRS complex. So QRS complex is a much bigger graphical representation, and it masks the atrial repolarization wave, that is the TA wave, right? So usually on a normal ECG, we will not see this atrial repolarization wave. It does occur, but it is not seen usually on a normal ECG because it is masked by the larger QRS complex, which we will discuss the next. So the QRS complex, it comprises of Q wave, R wave, and S wave. There are three waves, three different waves. We will go into the details of all these things later, today, in our today's lecture. Now, it occurs, this QRS complex, it occurs just before the ventricular depolarization. Sorry, it occurs just before the ventricular contraction, because what it is showing us, what it is representing, QRS complex, it is representing facial, and it will occur just before the ventricular. Right? Before that ventricular depolarization, just before the mechanical event, would be ventricular contraction. This is QRS complex, which is the ventricular depolarization wave, and this is the T wave, which is the ventricular repolarization, right? Now, before we go into the detail of this, and there is a U wave as well. U wave usually appears after T wave. It is not very common to have a U wave on the electrode after the T wave. And it is due to the slow repolarization of the papillary muscle. Remember, I told you something about the papillary muscle. Here is the U wave, T wave, and after that, this is the U wave, right? So I told you regarding the papillary muscle while we were discussing the valves of the heart. I told you and it is attached through the coordinating to the customer, right? So when there is a slow repolarization of the papillary muscle, then you coming to the segments, PR or PQ segment. PR or PQ segment. We have got PR or PQ segment, and we have got an ST segment. Why do we call what's these segments? These segments would always appear when there is an isoelectric line. They would always be on the isoelectric line. What is an isoelectric line? This line passing this line. This is the isoelectric line. What do we actually mean by this isoelectric line? This P wave is a positive wave because it is on the upper side of this isoelectric line, right? This Q wave is a negative wave because it is on the downside of the isoelectric line. This R wave is a positive wave because it is on the upside of the isoelectric line. This QS wave, this S wave is again a negative wave because it is on the downside of the isoelectric line. So all those things which are above the isoelectric line, those would be considered positive. And all those lines, all those waves which are below the isoelectric line, those would be considered negative. So anything which is present on the isoelectric line would show that there is no difference of polarity at that particular moment. And that is why there is no deflection of current. Now, to understand this, first we need to go through this, that how that a wave would be formed and when there would be a time when there would be a positive wave formation. So if we have this diagram in front of us that we have right now, if we have a look at it, look at the A diagram first. What are the components of this diagram? A diagram, this one, the first one. The components of this diagram are that this is a muscle fiber, this whole thing, the cardiac muscle fiber, and electrodes attached to it. One is a negative electrode, and the other one is a positive electrode. Through the electrodes is a voltmeter attached to it, right? This is a voltmeter, which is attached to this cardiac fiber membrane, cardiac muscle membrane, through two electrodes. Now, what is happening in the diagram? The negative electrode, as you can see, this cardiac fiber, it has got this cardiac fiber. It has half of the outside of the cardiac fiber is negative, half of the outside of the cardiac fiber is positive. Same goes for the inside. Half of the negative, half of the inside of the cardiac fiber is positive, and half of the inside of the cardiac fiber is negative, right? So what we can see here is that from the outside, on the outside of the cardiac fiber, where the two electrodes are attached, there is a difference in polarity. The half is negative, the first half is negative, and the later half is ECG. We take ECG. So that is the main thing that is going to determine that when are we going to have a negative wave and when are we going to have a positive wave. So what happens, right? It is the negative electrode is in negative field and the positive electrode is in positive field, and the deflection on the voltmeter is in on the positive side. So there is a positive deflection, right? There is a positive deflection. So that means that gives us a principle that whenever the electrodes are placed in their respective electronic fields, as in this case, that the negative electrode is placed in the negative electronic field, the positive electrode is placed in the positive electronic field. So there would be a positive wave formation, as you can see over here. This is the positive side, this is the negative side, and what is happening? There is a positive deflection, right? And it is shown on the meter as well, and it is being shown by this deflection of wave as well. So there is a deflection on the positive side. Why? Because our principle says, it states that whenever both the electrodes would be in their respective fields, electronic fields, there would be a wave formation on the positive side. Now coming to the B, what is happening in the B? In the B diagram, the whole outside is negative and the whole inside is positive. Means that the two electrodes that are placed outside the membrane, the electrode and the positive electrode, they are placed in the same electronic field, not in their respective electronic field, in the same electronic field, that is the negative electronic field. So by showing this, that the whole outside is negative, that means that there is no difference in polarity. So there would be no flow of current. As there would be no flow of current, there would be no wave formation. And if there is no wave formation, the wave would along the isoelectric line, as is shown by this deflection over here. The wave has come the isoelectric line. So there is no flow of current, and that is why there is no positive deflection or there is no negative deflection. And that is why the wave is now at the isoelectric line. There is, and if we connect the meter over here, it will the voltmeter. Coming to the C diagram, again, electrodes are placed outside. We are more concerned with the electronic fields outside, or the electric potentials outside. Now, what is happening? Negative electrode is placed in the the negative electrode is placed in the positive domain, this negative electrode, and the positive electrode is placed in the negative domain. So what means that the positive electrode not in their respective domains, they are in their opposite. So what will happen? When they were in their respective domains, their potentials, they were the negative and positive electrodes, when they were in respective fields, electric fields, they showed us a positive reflection. Now they are in their opposite fields. So what will happen? They will show a negative deflection, a negative domain, right? Coming to the and on the voltmeter, there would be a negative deflection on this side. If we attach this voltmeter over here, it will give us a negative deflection. Now coming to this D diagram. coming to this D diagram, here we see again that the outside is whole positive. There is no difference in polarity. The whole outside is positive over here. There is no difference in polarity. So when there is no difference in polarity, it means that there would be no flow of current. And the wave would go back to the isoelectric line, which shows that there is no flow of current, right? Now, let me just see what have you written in the chat. I think you have written something in the chat. There seems to be quite a lot of messages over there. Let me see what are there. Okay, can you hear me now? If you can hear me, write it in the chat. Okay, I'll repeat it. Don't worry, I'll repeat it, right? Okay, stay with me, I'll repeat it. Okay, I'll start with the A diagram once again. In the A diagram, what I'm trying to tell you is that we have got a muscle fiber over here. And this muscle fiber is showing us from the on the outside. This is the inside, this is the outside. On the outside, the half of it is giving us an negative electric potential. The other half is giving us the positive electric potential. Now, we have got two electrodes attached to it. This is the negative electrode, this one, and this is the positive electrode, this one. And through these electrodes, this muscle fiber is attached to a voltmeter. Now, when we place this negative electrode on the outside of this muscle fiber, and we place it in the electric potential, negative electric potential field, and we place the positive electrode in the positive electric potential field, there is a deflection on the voltmeter, and there is a deflection on this diagram in the positive. Okay, I'm really sorry for that, but I think we all have to bear with it. That's the only way out right now. We cannot do anything else. Okay, so I was explaining now. I was just about to start explaining the B diagram of this diagram. So the B part of this diagram, it shows that. Let me just make it big. Okay, so the B part of this diagram, it shows that the whole outside, the whole surface of the outside of the fiber is negative, right? Now, if the negative electrode is placed in the negative field and the positive electrode is also placed in the negative field, that means that there is no difference in polarity, because the polarity all on the whole membrane, outside the membrane, is negative. So there is no difference in polarity. Over here, there was a difference in polarity in A diagram. In the B diagram, there is no difference in polarity. So when there is no difference in polarity, the wave would be going back to the isoelectric line, right? That is the isoelectric line. So there is no deflection. The wave has gone back to its isoelectric line because there is no flow of current. There is no difference in polarity and there is no flow of current. So there would be no wave formation. And on the voltmeter, if we consider this voltmeter attached over here to this B diagram, it would be on zero. There would be no deflection either on the positive side or on the negative side, right? Now coming to the C diagram. C diagram, again, the first part of the outside of the membrane is positive. The second part is, the later part is negative. The negative electrode is placed in the positive domain. The positive electrode is placed in the negative domain. That means that both the electrodes, they are now placed in their opposite electronic fields. So what will happen? It will give us a negative deflection as it is shown over here, right? Because when they were in their respective electronic fields, they gave us a positive deflection. Now they are in their opposite electronic fields, so they will give us a negative deflection. And this is the principle on which the ECG waves are formed. And the whole thing depends that where and how the electrodes are placed, right? It all depends upon that, whether they are placed in the negative area or whether they are placed in the positive area. It all depends upon that. Okay, so coming to the D diagram, the fourth one, again, the whole outside of the muscle membrane is positive. So there is again no difference in polarity. So when there is no difference in polarity, there would be no flow of current. As both the electrodes are now placed in the positive domain, the negative one and the positive one as well. So there would be no difference in polarity, and the wave would again finish on the isoelectric line, right? So this is the principle. Now I think that if we move on to the next diagram, that is the same thing, but with a somewhat different perspective. And it will explain the thing even more. This is the diagram. Over there in this diagram, we're looking at a muscle fiber, right? All the individual muscle fibers. Over here, we are looking at a myocardial mass. It's a mass of myocardia that we are looking at. This whole thing, right? This whole thing is a mass of myocardia. Now, to this myocardium, right in the center of this mass of myocardium, there is a stimulation and the depolarization has started. Now, the areas where depolarization has started would be negative. Why? Why would it be so? Because whenever there is a wave of depolarization, so the positivity goes in and the negativity comes out. So the negativity is coming out because this is an area which has been stimulated and it is getting depolarized. So negativity is coming out, and the outside area of this stimulated area, which is still not depolarized, is positive, right? So it is still positive. So there is a difference in polarity. This central area is negative, this central area is negative, and the area this outside surrounding this area is positive. So there is a difference in polarity between these two areas. Now we have got three voltmeters attached to it. Now coming to the first one here. Now the principle would be the same as we studied in the last diagram, but there is an application of this principle now. The principle is the first the voltmeter, it says that, rather it shows that the negative electrode is in the positive domain, this one, and the positive electrode is in the negative domain. So that means that both these electrodes are in their opposite electric fields, right? So what does this show? What should be the consequence? What should be the inference? There should be a negative deflection on the voltmeter, and it is a negative deflection on the voltmeter because both the electrodes are in their opposite electronic fields. The negative is in positive, the positive is in negative. Now coming to the central diagram. The negative electrode, this one, is in the positive domain, and the positive electrode is in the positive domain again. So it means that both the electrodes are present in the positive domain, in the positive electric field, and there is no difference in polarity. So there would be no deflection, and it is at 0. Now coming to the third one. The negative electrode is in negative, and the positive electrode is in positive area. So what is happening? There is a positive deflection. And this is the principle on which the ECG waves are formed, that how the electrodes are placed and where they are placed. Either they are being placed in the positive domain or either they are being placed in the negative domain. So this will determine the positive or negative formation of the waves in ECG. And when do we call it a positive wave? When it is above the isoelectric line. And when do we call it a negative wave? When it is below the isoelectric line. And What is an isoelectric line? An isoelectric line is a line when there is no difference in polarity in different parts of the heart. So it's a straight line, right? Above this is positive, below this is negative, right? I hope that by now this should be clear. I'm very much hopeful that by now this should be clear. Now, moving on, this is, I'm sorry. If you look at this, what is happening? In the upper part of the diagram, there is the cardiac impulse travel. The cardiac impulse is traveling. And in the below part of the diagram, in the blue, it's the ECG formation. So the ECG formation and the electrical events which are occurring, the cardiac impulse as it passes by, it is showing us that if you have a close up at from the start, here, SA node, cardiac impulse rises, depolarizes atria, comes to AV node, depolarizes septum, then the ventricles, and accordingly, these waves are being formed. Right? So when there is atrial depolarization, there is P wave, right? When there is start of ventricular depolarization, there is QRS complex, right? And when there is repolarization, there is T wave, right? So this is how these things coincide with each other. Okay, moving to the next diagram. So, of course, as these are the electrical events, and we will measure them through their voltages, right? So, as I told you before, that we take this graph, the ECG, we take this graph from the chest and from the arms and from the legs, right? So we place the electrodes on the skin, not directly on the heart, right? Not directly on the ventricles or not directly on the myocardium, because that's an invasive procedure, and we would like to avoid invasive procedure if possible, and it is very much possible in the case of ECG. So the normal voltages in the electrocardiogram would depend upon the way the electrodes are placed on the surface of the body and how close the electrodes are to the heart. Now, if we take the example of the QRS complex, which would show us the highest voltage, if the QRS complex is taken when the electrodes are placed directly on the heart muscle membrane, its voltage or its potential would be 110 millivolts, which is a very high voltage, right? If the electrodes are placed directly on the heart muscle membrane, which we do not do as a practice, we place the electrodes on the surface, on the skin, right? So if we place these electrodes directly on the heart muscle membrane, the QRS complex would give us a magnitude of 110 millivolts. Now, if we place the electrodes on the ventricle, that is on the skin, on the superficial part of the body, on the ventricle, and the other is at some distant part of the body, can be a limb, right? So the magnitude of the QRS complex would be 3 to 4 millivolts. The third possibility is that if we place the electrodes on the limbs, nothing is close to the heart. Both electrodes are placed on the limbs, right? So it would be that the magnitude given by the QRS complex would be 1 to 1.5 millivolts. So that shows that as we go closer to the heart, the electrodes go closer to the heart, the magnitude is more. As the electrodes go away from the heart, the magnitude is less, right? So this is the principle once again. Now, the basic flow of current, this is the heart inside, this is the heart, right? And these vectors, they are showing the flow of current. So the basic flow of current is from, as we all know, that the flow of current is from negative to positive. The current flows from negative to positive, and the vector direction is always from negative to positive, right? So if we see this, we can see that the major flow of current in the heart is from the base, that is here, to the apex, that is here. It is from base to the apex, right? Now, if once again we look at this, the position of the electrodes, this A electrode, which is a negative electrode, it is placed much closer to the negative area. That's the negativity. It is much closer to negative as compared to the B wave, B electrode, which is placed much closer to the positive area. So the A electrode, which is a negative electrode, it is placed in or close to the negative area, and the B electrode, which is a positive electrode, it is placed closer to the positive area. So the deflection is on the positive side, right? So our principle is still holding the test of time. It is still showing us that if both the electrodes are placed in their respective fields or closer to their respective fields, they will give us a positive deflection, right? Okay. So now we take the individual waves. What I will suggest you is that if you have a pen and paper handy, right, you please write these down as quickly as possible, because I won't be having enough time or much time. We have enough time, but we don't have extra time to give you for writing. So be quick about it, and please do write the specifications of these waves, intervals, and segments, because it will serve you, right? It will be of much more convenience to you if you write these things, because you might not find these things in your book, all of these things. So P wave is a positive wave. It is the atrial depolarization wave. It occurs just before atrial systole, and the top of P wave coincides with the cardiac impulse reaching AV node, as will be shown by this. The diagram on the right corner of the diagram, the right corner of the slide. That the top of the P wave coincides with the cardiac impulse reaching AV node over here, right? Its amplitude usually is 0.1 to 0.3 millivolts, and its duration is usually 0.1 seconds. Its amplitude is usually 0.1 to 0.3 millivolts, and its duration is usually 0.1 seconds. Moving on to the TA wave, the atrial repolarization wave. The atrial repolarization wave, as I told you, that it is masked by, in a normal ECG, it would be masked by the bigger, larger QRS complex, because its occurrence, the atrial repolarization occurrence, it coincides with the occurrence of the QRS complex. So as the QRS complex is much larger in amplitude as compared to TA wave, that is the atrial repolarization wave, so it is masked, right? But I'll come back to this again further. Yes, it can be seen that atrial repolarization wave, it can be seen in normal people with MLL lead system, because we have got leads attached to a ECG machine, and through electrodes, those leads are attached to the person or to the patient or to the subject, right? So we have a standard limb lead system and we have a modified limb lead system. So to see this in a normal person, we need a modified limb lead system, not a standard one, right? Or this can be seen, this atrial repolarization wave, as I have told you before, that it cannot be seen on a standard limb lead system in a normal person, but it can be seen with a modified limb lead system in a normal person, or it can be seen in heart blocks, in pathology, in second and third degree heart blocks, which you will study in the next chapter. So in heart blocks, in second and third degree heart block, what happens that every P wave is not followed by a QRS complex. So when there is when there is no QRS complex, so it means that for that certain time or for that certain moment when there is no QRS complex, the atrial repolarization wave or TA wave should be visible, or it should appear on the ECG. So, so in AV block patients, in the first and third degree, in the third and second degree heart block patients, the TA wave duration is generally 3 times more longer than the observable TA wave, that is the atrial repolarization wave duration in the sinus rhythm subjects, that is in the normal subjects, right? So what I mean to say is that the atrial repolarization wave, which normally cannot be seen in and which normally cannot be seen in an ECG, right? But it can be seen with the help of a modified limb lead system in a normal person or in a normal ECG, or it can be seen in heart blocks, right? So when we will study heart blocks, I will certainly emphasize on this once again. So that was the P wave, and the atrial, the P wave was atrial depolarization wave, and the TA wave was the atrial repolarization wave. QRS complex. QRS complex, which is the ventricular depolarization complex, right? It occurs just before the the ventricular systole. It occurs just before the ventricular systole, and it is comprising of Q, R, and S waves. Peak of R wave to the bottom of S wave is 1 to 1.5 millivolts, usually when we have placed the electrodes on the limbs, right? That's its amplitude. Its duration is 0.08 to 0.1 second, and peak of R wave coincides with beginning of ventricular systole. Peak of R wave over here, it coincides with the start of ventricular systole, right? Because we have repeated it now so many times that the electronic event is going to occur just ahead of the mechanical event, right? Okay. Now now we break up all this QRS complex. Q is a positive wave, and it shows the depolarization of upper part of ventricular septum. R wave is again a positive wave. The Q wave is a negative wave, R wave is a positive wave, and the R wave, it shows the depolarization of lower part of the ventricular septum and apex of ventricle. S wave is a negative wave, and it shows the depolarization of wall and base of the ventricle, right? So this is the breakup of QRS complex. T wave. T wave is a positive wave again, and it's a ventricular repolarization wave. And end of T wave coincides with the end of the ventricular systole. End of the T wave coincides with the end of the ventricular systole and diastole, both, right? Correct it, please. Correct it over here. The T wave, it not only it coincides with the end of the ventricular systole, end of T wave. The end of T wave coincides with the end of the ventricular systole, not a ventricular systole, rather ventricular diastole. Correct it, please. It is wrongly written over here, right? Its duration is 0.2 to 0.3 millivolts, right? I repeat, end of T wave coincides with the end of the ventricular diastole, not ventricular systole, right? And its duration is 0.2 to 0.3 millivolts, right? Because ventricular systole would be when the QRS complex is occurring, not at the end of the T wave. So at the end of the T wave, it would be the end of the ventricular diastole as well. Okay. Segments. PR segment or PQ segment. Let me first show you this segment over here. I think it would be over here. This is the PR segment, this one. A straight line, that is the isoelectric line, because there is no difference in polarity and there is no flow of current. So there is no deflection. So segments are always on the isoelectric line, the PR segment and ST segment. Both these are on the isoelectric line, right? So we have got two segments in ECG, the PR segment and ST segment. So it starts from the end of P wave to the beginning of the QRS complex, and it is isoelectric. ST segment, it starts from the end of the S wave to the beginning of the T wave, and it is isoelectric again, right? Intervals, PR interval, beginning of P wave to the beginning of the QRS complex, right? And if there is no R wave, if there is no, and if there is Q wave present, because in some ECGs, Q wave is present, and in most of the ECGs, Q wave is not present. So if there is a Q wave present, we call it PQ interval. And if there is no Q wave present, then we call it PR interval. So it starts from the beginning of the P wave to the beginning of the either Q wave or R wave, whichever is present. If Q wave is present, we call it PQ interval, like this. If Q wave is present, we should call it PQ interval, or we can call it PR interval as well if Q wave is absent, right? The ST segment, it starts from the end of the S wave to the beginning of the T wave. The ST segment is from the end of the S wave to the beginning of the T wave. That is the ST segment. So these were the segments of the ST segment, end of S wave to the beginning of the T, and its isoelectric intervals. PR interval, beginning of P to the beginning of QRS. As I have told you before, this is the one. From the beginning of P to the beginning of R or Q, you can call it PR interval or you can call it PQ interval, depending upon which wave is present. If Q wave is present, then it is PQ interval. If Q wave is absent, then it is PR interval, right? It's usually its duration is from 0.12 to 0.2 seconds, right? And it shows atrial depolarization plus conduction of impulse through AV node. It represents atrial depolarization plus conduction of impulse through AV node. Now, QT interval, beginning of Q to the end of T. It's a very long interval, 0.35, 0.4 seconds. 0.35 to 0.4 seconds. Over here, this one. From the beginning of Q to the end of T, right? And it represent like it would represent ventricular depolarization and ventricular repolarization. Both. It would be ventricular depolarization. It means that it would take into itself the QRS complex, because it will be showing ventricular depolarization and ventricular repolarization, and its usual 4 seconds. Right? QRS interval and RR interval. RR interval, if you want to see QRS interval, this is the QRS interval. The time duration between the Q and the S wave, that's the QRS interval, right? This is the one. And the other one is VAT, ventricular activation time interval. The ventricular activation time interval, this one, is the time for cardiac impulse to pass from endocardium to epicardium. These are the two layers or surfaces of the myocardium, endocardium and epicardium. So the time required for the cardiac impulse to pass from the endocardium to epicardium is the ventricular activation time interval. So it starts from the beginning of the Q to the peak of R, from the beginning of the Q to the peak of R, from the beginning of the Q to the peak of R. That's this one. From the beginning of the Q to the peak of the R. We have drawn a perpendicular from the, and this is the VAC. Sorry, from the beginning of the Q to the peak of the R. This is the ventricular activation time interval, right? This is again, which is not given right? This ventricular activation time interval, and this QRS interval is again not given in the Guyton. In the Guyton, it is just given as Q complex, right? So can we label it as an interval as well? The now, two successive R waves, and this is the duration of the cycle between, because how do we define the cardiac cycle is between, is from the cardiac events occurring from the start of one heartbeat to the start of next heartbeat. So the peak of the R wave, it coincides with the start of the heartbeat. So the between two successive R waves would be the cardiac cycle. And it is used for determining heart rate. Now this is interesting, that how do we use this for determining heart rate, right? Now, where is this RR interval? First see where is this RR interval between the two successive. This is the diagram. This is one RP, and this is the second RP. So this is the RR interval, and we use this to calculate heart rate. How does we do that? This is something interesting, and this is now what we are going to do. Now, before we go on to this, that how do we calculate heart rate from this RR interval, we need to study the ECG paper first. Because if we do not know that how the ECG paper is divided on the x-axis and how it is divided on the y-axis, and what does it represent on the x-axis and what does it represent on the y-axis, we just won't be able to understand that how can we count the heart rate, or how can we measure the heart rate, or how can we measure the amplitude of a wave or a segment or interval, right? Because on the x-axis, this is the ECG paper, this one, the red one. On the x-axis, it shows the time in seconds, and on the y-axis, it gives voltage in millivolts. It gives voltage in millivolts on the y-axis. On the x-axis, it shows time. Now, to measure the heart rate, what we need to do is that we need to understand the gradations. These are the gradations. These lines, these are the gradations which are on the x-axis. So to look at this, what we need to understand is that what size of a box represents what duration of time. So over here, the smallest box, this one small box, it represents 0.04 seconds on the x-axis, and the same small box represents 0.1 millivolts on the y-axis. On the y-axis, it is 0.1 millivolts. On the x-axis, it is 0.04 seconds, right? If it represents, this one small box represents 0.04 seconds, then we can go into some easy calculations. And these calculations are that one small box is equal to 0.04 seconds, if one small box is equal to 0.04 seconds, then the one big box, which contains 5 smaller boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is a one bigger box. So if one small box, it represents 0.04 seconds on the x-axis. One big box, which contains 5 small boxes, would show or would represent 0.20 seconds. Why? Because one small box, that is 0.04, would be multiplied by 5, that is the small boxes, number of small boxes in a bigger box, in a big box. So big box would represent 0.2 seconds. And how did we calculate it? That is, the 0.04 would be multiplied by 5, and it would give us 0.2 seconds. Now the 5 big boxes, would give us 1 second. How? Because the 5 big boxes, the one big box gave us 0.2 seconds, and 5 big boxes would give us 1 second. So we will multiply, we can see, we will multiply 0.2, that is the second given by, that is the seconds represented by a one big box. So if we multiply it with 5, that is the 5 bigger box, so they will give us 1 second. They will represent 1 second, right? Now, if 1 second is represented by 5 big boxes, the 60 seconds would be represented by 5 into 60, that is 300 bigger boxes, right? So if the 1 second represents 5 big boxes, that means that the 1 second represents 25 small boxes. So the 60 seconds would be represented by 1500 small boxes, right? So the 1 minute would be represented by 1500 small boxes. Now these are the calculations on the basis of which we have rule of 300 to calculate the heart rate. We have rule of 1500 to calculate the heart rate, and we have rule of, or we have a 10-second rule. That is not on this, right? That is not on this. Time हो गया बेटा, बंद कर दूं आज के लिए। 12:01 हो गए, जा सकता हूँ ऊपर या नहीं है? बंद कर दूं? Okay guys, we will start from here because my time is up and the next teacher is waiting. So thank you so much for listening, and we will start from here. Thank you.